Good. Morning. Okay, is everybody ready? Everybody good? All right, thank you. Thank you all for being here today for the District Attorney's weekly community press conference. As always, we are here to talk primarily about gun violence, and we will do so in the usual two parts. First, by talking about data, and then by talking about a really important and very special topic, which will be part of a series of conferences that we will be doing in the next several months. And that topic is fugitives on homicide matters around the city. Specifically, today we will be looking at several, I believe 10, who are fugitive and wanted on warrants for homicides that occurred in this part of the city. Let me start by recognizing some of the wonderful people who are here. We have with us Philadelphia Sheriff Rochelle Bilal. We have ADA Joanne Pescator, who's the chief of the DAO's Homicide and Non-Fatal Shooting Unit. We have with us Natasha McGlynn, Executive Director of the Anti-Violence Partnership. And I'm going to have to apologize already because I should have said Natasha Daniela de Lima McGlynn, who's the Executive Director of the Anti-Violence Partnership, which is our partner at the DAO in this part of town. We have Lieutenant Hamilton Marshman from the DAO's, from PPD, who is here with us to talk about these individuals who are wanted. And he will be engaging in a long presentation with Joanne Pescator about the people we are hoping can be turned in or can turn themselves in. We have Reverend Myra Maxwell, Executive Director of the DAO's Victim Support Services Division. Bridget Eatman, Victim Witness Coordinator with our DAO's Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit. We have Shalyn Harris, who is the Victim Witness Coordinator for the DAO's Homicide and Non-Fatal Shooting Unit. ADA Deborah Watson-Stokes, a Senior Advisor who works on professional development and special projects, many of them relating directly to gun violence, is with us. And we are also delighted to have Dr. Jonathan Wilson, the founder and executive director of the Fathership Foundation, and a young man who works with him, Kenneth Thompson, an inner city life coach with the Fathership Foundation. Let me start out talking about data. We have 93 homicides year to date as of March the 20th at 11:59 p.m. This is slightly better than last year when there were 107. It represents a decrease of 13%, but obviously these numbers are unacceptable, and they are not numbers in any meaningful way. They are human beings. As I think you will see today, we remain committed to working collaboratively with all other law enforcement to try to improve public safety and bring people who have pointed a gun at another human being and pulled the trigger to justice. The number of homicides and non-fatal shootings recorded for the week of March the 10th through the 16th, which is how we usually do this, is 6 homicides and 23 non-fatal shootings. And while the 6 homicides are fewer than the average we saw during the pandemic, which was about 1.5 a day or 10.5 a week, there's no celebration here about how many homicides we have, either in Philadelphia or in the United States at this time. There were in the same period 115 gun-related incidents, which includes both gun possession cases and crimes committed with guns. 77 arrests were made by law enforcement, resulting in 76 total cases charged. And without going into more detail, cash bail failed us yet again with what are, to my mind, very low bails for very serious crime. I'd like to talk briefly about 3 particular shooting incidents that have occurred over the last week and weekend. The first one was on Sunday, March the 19th. This was a quadruple shooting in the 1000 block of West Diamond Street in the 22nd Police District at about 2:51 a.m. 4 people were shot, 3 of them transported to Temple by Temple police. Victim number 1 was a 20-year-old black female shot in the forearm. Victim 2, a 21-year-old black female shot twice in the left leg. Victim 3, a 47-year-old black female shot in the right arm. And the 4th individual shot, the offender, was shot once in the left ribs. He drove himself to Temple Hospital and was taken into surgery. As I'm sure you've already figured out, an arrest has been made by PPD in this case. However, the investigation is ongoing. Anyone with investigative information should contact PPD's Shooting Investigation Group at 215-686-8270. The defendant in this matter is named Eric Leach Gilliam, E-R-Y-K, Leach, L-E-A-C-H, hyphen, Gilliam, G-I-L-L-I-A-M, a 24-year-old, born on April the 4th of 99. He has a valid license to carry. That does not expire, actually, until 2026. Defendant was shot by armed security at the hookah lounge where this incident took place. There's a topic, not for today, but there's a topic we need to talk about in the city, which is how easy it became to get a permit to carry during the pandemic, and how we have now seen multiple times, including on South Street, that making it easy for anybody and everybody to get a permit to carry firearms in the city of Philadelphia has made no one safer and has in fact placed us all in much more jeopardy. Second shooting incident is a non-fatal triple shooting that occurred on Monday, March 20th in the 1500 block of North Fraser Street in the 19th Police District at about 4 p.m. There were 3 victims. All 3 of them were young and were transported by police to Lankenau Hospital. Victim number 1, a 13-year-old black male, was shot once in the abdomen is in stable condition. Victim 2, 16-year-old black male, shot 3 times in the left armpit, once in the abdomen, extremely critical. Victim 3, 16-year-old black male, critical condition, shot once in the abdomen. No arrest has been made. This investigation is ongoing. Information, please, to the Shooting Investigation Group, 215-686-8270. And the final shooting, a non-fatal, occurred on Monday, March the 20th in the 5300 block of Wayne Avenue in the 14th Police District at 6:56 p.m. A 40-year-old black woman was shot once in the left thigh, twice in the abdomen. She was transported to Temple by private vehicle and placed in stable condition. Once again, Shooting Investigation Group is 215-686-8270. There is an arrest in this third case. The defendant is Rickina, R-I-C-K-I-N-A, Turpin, T-U-R-P-I-N, Dennis, 47 years old, date of birth 9/10/75. The charges are attempted murder, ag assault ×2, meaning 2 potential victims, violation of the Uniform Firearms Act, Section 6105, so this means the defendant is a felon possessing a firearm, possession of an instrument of crime, simple assault ×2, and reckless endangerment ×2. Defendant in this matter has not yet been arraigned because the arrest is so recent. It's my pleasure at this time to introduce the Reverend Myra Maxwell, who is, of course, the head of the DAO's Victim Support Services Division, and she will give a weekly report on behalf of all the good people who do work with that unit within the office. Reverend Maxwell.
Thank you, DA Krasner, and good morning, everyone. Our CARES unit, who is our crisis response unit that goes out for every homicide in Philadelphia. For the week of March 11th through March 17th, 2023, our CARES unit responded to 7 families, providing 21 services. For any family that's impacted by homicide death, we encourage you to reach out to our office because there are services and supports available for you. We also want to make sure that everyone knows that you do have rights as a victim of crime. And all of the organizations that we support and we work with through the District Attorney's Office are operating under standards to make sure that we are ensuring that all of our victims receive information, practical and emotional support, and are available to participate fully in the criminal justice process. The standards were created to make sure that they are treated with dignity and respect at all times, regardless of your gender, your age, your marital status, your race, your ethnic origin, your sexual orientation, disability, or religion. Your rights will be provided to you by several different agencies, which includes our state and local law enforcement agencies, the DA's office, local correctional facilities, Board of Probation and Parole, and the Juvenile Probation Office, or the Department of Welfare. You do have a right to know about basic services available to you in Philadelphia County, to receive notice of an arrest of an offender, to be accompanied to all criminal justice procedures by a family member, a victim advocate, or a support person, and also a right to provide input into the sentencing decision and to receive help in preparing an oral and/or written impact statement. Please take advantage of these supports because they are available for all victims, witnesses, and survivors. For more information on our services, you may contact us at 215-686-8027. Again, that's 215-686-8027, or you can visit our website at www.phillyda.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. So in a moment, we're going to hear what in my mind is a very, very important part of this presentation, and that will be ADA Pescatore and Lieutenant Marshman standing together and going through the list and the photographs and the information on people who are wanted on valid homicide warrants at this time. We're asking the public to help us in identifying, locating, and arresting these individuals. We're also asking these individuals to understand that it does not get better if they remain fugitives. It only gets worse, and that the best course here for their safety and everyone else's, the best course in terms of how their case will be handled and prosecuted is for them to come forward voluntarily and face the justice that they will find in a courtroom. But before I do that, I do want to say there's a bigger picture here, and that is that we are going to be doing this in 6 different areas around the city. This is one of those 6. We will be bringing forward photographs for the usual reason. We don't ordinarily use mugshots. There's a pretty ugly tradition around how that was used and for what, but we use them here for a very specific purpose, and that is to assist the public in identifying people who are fugitives so that they can be arrested. This is not sensationalism. This is using their photographs for a specific and appropriate investigative purpose. We're going to do it here. We're going to do it 5 other weeks in 5 other locations. And the story even gets bigger than that, because while we haven't announced it yet, we will also be trying to do a similar thing with photographs and identification of people who have been killed and whose identities we don't know yet, and whose identities we need to know in order to be able to investigate and resolve the circumstances around how they were killed. You've heard about the boy in the box. You've heard about the girl in the box. Well, those aren't the only people who have been found deceased, unidentified, and apparently killed. And we need to make sure that we keep the faith with them. This is a collaboration, as you can see. I have with me Sheriff Rochelle Bilal. I have with me the Philadelphia Police Department. I have with me a whole team of people who are absolutely dedicated to making sure that there is justice and that there are appropriate consequences for terrible acts. We work all the time with the Gun Violence Task Force, with the Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit of the DA's office. We work with our own data lab to use the information available to help us in the prevention and solving crime. We work with the DAO Intelligence Unit and the Community Engagement Unit, and we work with all of our federal partners and our other state law enforcement partners as well. As you can see right here, and as the people who are out there fugitive are about to find out, that is what's going on. We also are delighted to have with us here today people who work on and will discuss prevention and our office's commitment to support community organizations that address the trauma, the conflicts, the kind of mentoring and life skills and vocational and educational training needs that exist in the community in order to improve public safety. And obviously, our prosecution is vigorous and has always been vigorous when it comes to violence, as the data supports. We value this partnership, and we look forward to trying to use this as one more forum and one more tool to bring people who are wanted on warrants for homicides to justice. It is my pleasure at this time to introduce ADA Joanne Pescator, Chief of our Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit, and Lieutenant Marshman of the PPD, who will go through some of Philadelphia's most wanted, the date and location of the crimes, and whose images will be available not only on these screens but electronically to the media, so that we can enlist the support of 1.6 million Philadelphians in making Philadelphia a safer place. ADA Pescator and Lieutenant Marshman.
Thank you, DA Krasner. I want to first thank Lieutenant Marshmond and Sergeant Mark Jones from the Homicide Fugitive Squad. Lieutenant Marshmond and Sergeant Jones have helped us with this compilation of fugitives who are wanted in the southwest section of our city. It came to my attention when the DA did this last week with Charles Miller, who, by the way, is still wanted, that this would be a good idea to do this. So hopefully, with the help of the PPD, our federal law enforcement, the Sheriff's Department, and all of you, Philadelphia, we can give some kind of solace and justice to these families who are waiting for the person that killed their loved ones to be taken into custody. The first person is Brandon Brooks. Brandon Brooks is wanted for the killing of Nigel Jones. The incident happened on March 4th of 2022 at approximately 10:11 a.m. in the 18th Police District in the area of 6229 Chestnut Street. Upon arrival there, the officers located the decedent, Nigel Jones, a 26-year-old black male who was suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to Presbyterian Hospital where he was pronounced. A warrant was issued for Brandon Brooks on March 7th of 2022. The next defendant, Gregory Burnett. A warrant was issued for Mr. Burnett for the killing of Heffero, Heffero, White. This incident happened on August 16th of 2020 at 3:26 a.m. in the 19th Police District at 5038 Marion Avenue here in Philadelphia. At that time, the decedent, Heffero White, was found at that location suffering from gunshot wounds. There was already a co-defendant in this case who was arrested. However, Mr. Burnett is still on the run. A warrant was issued for his arrest on November 9th of 2020. Gustavo Castavilas. This is a stabbing case which happened in the 12th Police District back on February 3rd of 2022 at 6420 Dorrell Street here in Philadelphia. At that location, Eliedo Rosales was stabbed to death and pronounced at that location. A warrant was issued for Gustavo Castavelas, and he is still in wanted status. Next is Jason Fairfax. Mr. Fairfax is wanted in the killing of Stephen Somerville. This incident happened on April 20th of 2020 in the 19th Police District. It happened at 6300 Market Street. Officers were directed by a civilian witness to a nature trail and then to the banks of Cobbs Creek, where they observed the body of Stephen Somerville. Mr. Somerville was laying on the trail by the creek, suffering from a gunshot wound to the head and another to the upper torso. He was pronounced at that particular scene. An arrest warrant was issued for Jason Fairfax on September 30th of 2021. Next, Basir Gillette. An arrest warrant was issued for Mr. Basir Gillette for the killing of Kwamir Mitchell. This incident happened on May 13th of 2021 at approximately 7:29 p.m. in the 12th Police District, 5600 Grays Avenue here in Philadelphia. Police located the shooting victim, Mr. Mitchell, at 2334 South Ithan Street, suffering from a gunshot wound to the chest. Mr. Mitchell, in this case, is still wanted for that incident. And you'll see on the screen, there was actual media coverage of that particular incident. Next is Raymond Harcum. Mr. Harcum is wanted for the killing of Khalil Harris. This incident happened on Saturday, March 19th of 2022 in the 16th Police District. It happened in the 1100 block of North 41st Street here in Philadelphia. When the police got to the location, there was an unresponsive black male shooting victim on the highway. He suffered from multiple gunshot wounds. He was transported to Penn Presbyterian, where he in fact was pronounced later that day. A warrant was issued for Mr. Harcum on 3/31 of 22. Nadir Mitchell. Nadir Mitchell is wanted for the shooting death of Daquan Collins. This incident happened on May 31st, 2020 at approximately 8:05 p.m. at 1 North 49th Street in the 18th Police District. Mr. Collins was found face down at the CVS parking lot at North 49th Street. He suffered gunshot wounds and succumbed to those injuries. An arrest warrant was issued for Nadir Mitchell on July 13th of 2020. There is also a co-defendant in this case who's already been arrested. Next is Sufadin Sabir. This defendant is wanted for the killing of Ryan Lavelle Moultrie. This incident happened on Sunday, August 11th of 2019 in the 19th Police District at 3987 Ford Road here in Philadelphia. There was an argument between these two people, and this particular defendant is accused of gunning down the victim. There were multiple fire cartridge casings were found at that scene, and a warrant was issued for this defendant's arrest. I don't have the exact date of the warrant. Next is Kyle Smith. Mr. Smith is wanted for the killing of Philip Wise. This incident happened on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. At approximately 8:48 p.m., police responded to 56th and Osage Avenue here in Philadelphia. Mr. Wise was suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. He was transported to Presbyterian Hospital, where he was placed in critical condition. He succumbed to his injuries the next day and was pronounced at that hospital. Charges were approved for Kyle Smith by myself. There was also a co-defendant in this case, Sean Williams, who also was a fugitive but was found in Clay County, Florida, and transported back to the homicide unit back in February of 2022. A warrant was issued for both of those individuals back on September 30th of 2021. And I believe there was news coverage with regard to that incident. And lastly, Nathaniel Thomas. Mr. Thomas is wanted for the murder of Tanrence Jamar Mathis. Mr. Mathis was killed on Sunday, September 11, 2022, in the 12th Police District at 6100 Baltimore Avenue here in Philadelphia. Police were called to that location and they found him suffering from a gunshot wound to the abdomen. He was later pronounced dead. Charges were approved for this particular defendant and a warrant was issued on 9/21 of 2022. Lieutenant Marchmont has a lot of information as to where people can contact or call. As I said, we work very closely, and the homicide detectives do as well, with the federal U.S. Marshals and the Federal Fugitive Task Force, along with the Sheriff's Department and other police officers around Philadelphia to bring these fugitives in. Lieutenant Marchmont.
First, I'd like to thank DA Krasner and everyone that has come out today. It's important that the families of our decedents know that we have not forgotten them, and we are still actively investigating and doing everything we can to apprehend these individuals. Second, I just want it to be known that, like, this has to stop. This violence has to stop. You know, I speak to parents, I speak to children, and being a father myself, when you think about the summertime approaching and you're thinking about it, it's natural for children to want to be outside, playing basketball at the park, being outside, enjoying themselves. That's natural. And children should have that right, and they should be able to do so without the fear of someone shooting a gun, firing a gun, and causing harm. We need to stop this violence, and we're doing everything, and it has to stop. It has to stop. Third, I want the public to know we need your help. If you recognize any of these fugitives, please, you can contact the Philadelphia Police Department tip line. The number is 215-686-TIPS. That's 215-686-TIPS. Or you can go online. It's at tips@phillypolice.com. tips@phillypolice.com. If you want to view fugitives, we do have a website where you can view fugitives also. It's the phillymostwanted.org. phillymostwanted.org. The United States Marshals also has a tip line that you can contact. The phone number is 1-877-WANTED-2. That's 1-877-926-8332. Or you can contact usmarshals.gov and submit any information that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you again to ADA Pescator, who reminded us of the importance of lifting this up. And thank you again to Lieutenant Marchmont, who has been such a good partner and so instrumental in our being able to make this presentation today. We have a few speakers. I'm going to introduce all three of them at the same time so as not to have to interrupt what they have to say. I'm delighted to say that we have Philadelphia Sheriff Rochelle Bilal here, who will speak first. We then have Dr. Jonathan Wilson, who is the founder and executive director of the Fathership Foundation. And the final of the three speakers is Natasha Daniela de Lima McGlynn, who is the executive director of the Anti-Violence Partnership and therefore a partner with the DAO in providing the regional victim witness support services that are provided through federal, state, and in some cases local funding. So we will go Sheriff Bilal, Dr. Wilson, and then Natasha McGlynn without my getting back up, and at the conclusion we will take questions from the media. Sheriff Bilal.
Good morning. Thank you, D.A. Krasner, for this collaboration. I'm Sheriff Rochelle Bilal for the City and County of Philadelphia. We cannot do this alone. When we are asking for the community help, we are asking. They live in our neighborhoods. You know who they are. Their body cannot stay woke 24 hours straight. They have to lay their head somewhere, and they are among us. We need you to help us get them off the streets before somebody else gets hurt. The DA's office, the sheriff's office, and all law enforcement agencies are collaborating on these efforts to get these people off the street. But we are saying to you, we will go anywhere to get them. So if you are harboring them, if you are at their house or they're at your house, we are coming for them. If you don't want us knocking on your door because they're your family member and you are harboring them, then tell us where they are. Let us know. There are agencies out there that you can contact anonymously. They have given you that information. Every law enforcement agency in this city are looking for them. So we are asking for the public's help. We're asking for grandma, mama, cousin. We need your help in this. And if you don't want us coming to your house where they may be hiding at, then you need to let us know. Turn them in. They are killing us. They are killing our neighborhoods. I repeat again, every law enforcement agency in this city is collaborating to get these people off the street. They are hurting us, and we need your help to do this. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Larry Krasner, for having me today. My name is Dr. Jonathan Wilson. I'm the Executive Director of the Fathership Foundation. And I have two things to say this morning. The first thing, as I sat here and I listened to all those statistics, all that pain and death, see those warrants, my message today from Southwest Philadelphia is that we can do it. We can beat this thing. We got ourselves, and we have God. And I went to a small college called Cheney University, and that's kind of like what guides my direction and policy when it comes toward addressing community violence. And one thing I learned from going there and looking at my community now in Southwest is that it's about 3,000 or 4,000 of us. But we had everything as students that it took for us to thrive. We had public safety, we had housing, we had the Distinguished Speaker Series, we had career advancement, we had financial aid, we had everything that we needed. And that's the model that needs to be employed to fix these communities. We have to have the social infrastructure for the community to thrive, or we have all this craziness. Second thing I wanted to say is this. I've been on the run before. It's no fun. You can't take care of your kids. You can't really live anywhere. You can't drive. And if there's anything I can do to help you have a soft landing, go to Fathership Foundation on Instagram. Turn yourself in. Get it over with. Get the drama finished. And I guarantee you, you got my word, I can guarantee you a softer landing than if they catch you out here without turning yourself in.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Natasha Daniela de Lima Micklin. I am the Executive Director of Anti-Violence Partnership of Philadelphia, or AVP as we fondly call it, because otherwise it is a mouthful. Thank you so much for this opportunity to partake in this event. AVP is one of 7 victim service agencies in the city. We are a victim service agency. We are not a law enforcement agency. As a victim service agency, we are the victim service agency that is designated to the 12th, 16th, 18th, and 19th police districts, which comprise West and Southwest Philadelphia. For 40 years, AVP has been on the front lines of addressing the cycle of violence in Philadelphia, and we do so by providing a wide range of intervention, prevention, and support services to victims of violence and co-victims of homicide. As a victim service agency, we have a dedicated team of state licensed therapists, counselors, and victim advocates, and we take a very holistic approach to victimization. Victimization, it's not one size fits all. We're using trauma-informed and evidence-informed approaches, and really our mission as an agency is that we want to reduce the cycle of violence. Our services include individual therapy, grief counseling, court accompaniment, crisis intervention, psychoeducational support, victim advocacy, assistance with filing claims with Pennsylvania's Victim Compensation Assistance Program, or VCAP. We also provide education and training. There are 2 things we know. First, what we know about victimization is that victimization is often underreported. There is a stigma that victims and survivors feel, so oftentimes they will not go and report. And when they're not reporting, they're not getting the services that they need. And then 2, what we also know is that violence is affecting everyone. And we get that. I get that. I'm a co-victim of homicide. I'm a survivor. And as a victim service agency, we serve victims and survivors. We are not discriminant. If you have been a victim of a violence of any type, we will help. We will support you. If you are a victim of a violent crime in Southwest, we do encourage you to please reach out to Anti-Violence Partnership. Our website is avpphila, avpphila.org, and our phone number is 215-567-6776. We do leverage our partnerships. We do try to provide a very holistic approach to your care. If we can't support you, we will make sure our team works with our partners to ensure that you are best supported during your journey. Thank you.
Thank you all for those wonderful comments. Final comment from me before we go to media. Obviously, it is a much safer situation for Philadelphia police and for sheriffs and for federal law enforcement when someone who is wanted turns themselves in instead of there having to be a SWAT entry of a home. All of these factors are considered in court. We encourage the public, please come forward, help us to bring these folks safely to a place where they can face justice and they can get a fair trial and get the appropriate consequence according to what the facts and law say. But also, for anyone who is fugitive, who is out there, turn yourself in. Turn yourself in. It will be a softer landing. It will be a safer place. If you do not know where to turn and you have been told possibilities, go to your local faith leader. Go to a community leader. They know how to get a hold of PPD and they know how to get a hold of our office. This goes on all the time. It is the best way to resolve the situation. We will be calling on all media, and I'm going to start with 6ABC. Ricky Harris, do you have anything, sir? All right, thank you. Fox 29, Mr. Santo, do you have anything? All right. CBS Philadelphia, Mr. Kuhn, do you have anything? All right. And then from the Trace, we have Mensa Dean. Yes, sir.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Mensa.
Why did you decide to launch this partnership right now? How did
So I'll make a couple quick comments, but then I'm going to invite ADA Pescator and also the lieutenant to come up and address how they selected the people they selected. This is the bottom line. We collaborate all the time. We have always collaborated on these, in this kind of a process. However, something that we have seen at the DA's office as a result of some of our press conferences is how interested and involved the public is. We did a press conference not long ago having to do with some sexual assault, and it didn't take long before we had more information about that. This is a city of 1.6 million people who don't want this gun violence, who want safety, and an awful lot of them are willing to step up and help us. Well, we need that help. So, I have to give credit to ADA Pescator, who reminded me and reminded G. Lamar Stewart, who's our, not only a police officer, but also our chief of community engagement, that this was a possibility. We are going to do this, and we're going to do it, as I mentioned previously, in 6 locations around the city, and then phase 2 of this, or part 2 of this, will be we're going to try to use the same crowdsourcing of energy and information, the same synergy with Philadelphians, the same grassroots law enforcement approach. We're going to try to use that to address unidentified people who appear to be victims of homicide. We're going to be doing that as well. But let me let ADA Pescator and Lieutenant Marshman say anything else they would like to say.
Thank you, DA Krasner. While it's true, Larry was the inspiration when we did the press conference, I guess it was last week, with regard to the transgender community and the killing with regard to George Mitchell. I had an idea, and I ran it past Larry, and then I ran it past my friends at the homicide unit, and they were gracious enough to help me. And I think that every day that I sit in the chair that I sit in, I need to know that we're doing everything we can. When I talk to a mother or father or brother or sister, anyone who's lost someone, and they're like, is there anything yet? And I'm sure Lieutenant Marshman gets those same calls. Some of these people, as you can see, have been wanted for a very long time. So I just, in my job, want to give justice and closure to a family if I can. And I think this is a great way for the public to see who these people are. It's on a website. Maybe some people don't go on the computer, but I know every person in this city pretty much goes on TV or is on their phone or something, and all it is a phone call to help us find out where these people are.
When Joanne came to Sergeant Jones and myself and asked us to be a part of this, I said, absolutely. It's an excellent idea. We, right now, currently have approximately 63 fugitives that are active right now. That number increases as investigations and arrest warrants are approved. But based on today and based on the citizens and help and the news media's help, we're looking at that fugitive number goes down. We need the calls. Individuals know where these persons are, and they need to help us. We need their help, and I believe that number is going to go down with the help of the community.
Follow-up. Just for clarity, you say there's 63 fugitive homicide fugitives right now as we speak?
Correct.
Okay, so we had 516 homicides in 2022, a less than 50% clearance rate. So it would seem like you would have a lot more fugitives than 63, not to mention the 562 homicides in 2021. Where, the numbers aren't adding up with 63 fugitive homicides.
Well, the investigations are still being conducted, and we have had, as far as this year, we've had success with the investigations that we've been able to clear from this year and the prior year and previous years. So the number of the fugitives that we have right now are approximately 63, and the investigations are still active. We still are investigating these cases. We don't stop. We continue the investigation, and with the help of the public, we will be able to make arrests. Thank you.
For clarity, when you say these are the people you know, you have identities for these people, but there's the vast majority of people who kill people, you don't know who they are. Is that safe to say? You have the identity of these people, but there are even more people who you don't know. You don't have a name.
Unfortunately, there are cases in investigations where we do not have an offender identified. But I can tell you, cases are still, we get information on cases regularly. So as we receive that information, we investigate it with the help of the public, I'll add, is the reason why a lot of these cases are coming in with the information. The public is helping us, and we need that. We need the public's help, and we want that continued support.
Mr. Dean, maybe I can also just add a couple points, because I know that you really are interested in the details of this, because I know you. The homicide, of course, is a crime that has 5 different levels. 3 of them are murder, 2 of them are not. What are listed as homicides in the city of Philadelphia include gun violence, but it includes other things. In some cases, there is no issue of a fugitive because the person who ends up being a defendant literally reports the event. That is something you sometimes see in a domestic situation. You sometimes see it in a situation where a defendant may be claiming an accident. For example, one brother shoots another brother. I was just considering a case yesterday that is listed for trial in the very near future where the defendant called 911 and then was one of a few people to help take the injured individual who eventually died outside for medical care. That is part of the universe of these cases. So it's not the situation that every single homicide is initially unsolved and through a long investigative process, someone who's on the run is identified. It is also fair to say, and I wholeheartedly say this on behalf of the Philadelphia Police Department, the phenomenon of it being difficult to solve homicide cases is a national phenomenon, and it is a decades-long national phenomenon. Jeffrey Asher, among others, has written extensively about this. It relates to a lot of different things that I'd be more than happy to talk to you about maybe at another time, including forensics, including how many detectives are available when there is a surge in homicides, things of that sort. And I say that not at all to be dismissive. I am, in fact, happy to talk to you further about it. But while it might seem surprising that there are 63 fugitives, and that may to you seem like a low number, I think if you look at the entire universe of homicides, that actually makes some sense. All right. Rodrigo Torrejon of the Enquirer. Do you have anything, sir?
I do. Yeah, it's actually about the Fraser Street shooting. Questions about that. There were multiple calibers found at the scene of the shooting. Is there any insight into how many shooters there might have been? I know there's no arrest made, but any insight into how many? And any status updates on the, I know there's no arrest, but any status updates on motive, what it might have been, if it was targeted or not?
Okay, I'm going to defer to ADA Pescador. I don't know if she has that information, but let me defer to her on that.
No, it's still an very active investigation. There are multiple rounds out there, multiple calibers, so indication there are multiple shooters. There were a lot of rounds fired.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else, Mr. Torrejon? Okay, Mr. Cipriano of Big Trial.
Good morning, Mr. President. I wanted to
Good morning.
about Edward Vargas. Since January of this year, he's been arrested and charged with 4 murders plus gun charges related to the shooting and stalking of his girlfriend. Mr. Vargas was on probation as a felon for possessing a firearm with an obliterated serial number. When he was arrested for a shooting case in January 2020, your office was only able to secure a sentence of 11.5 to 23 months. At a violation hearing on the gun charge, Mr. Vargas was immediately released in August of 2022. In light of your office's horrendous record of prosecuting violent offenders like Edwin Vargas, Why should witnesses come forward and put themselves in harm's way on these types of cases when your office is allowing shooters on probation for gun charges to get only county sentences, sir?
So the question was at the end of that? Is that right, Mr. Cipriano?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Cipriano, needless to say, I don't have a file on Edwin Vargas that would put me in a position to consider that. Our office handles about 35,000 cases a year. You are entitled to your conclusions, however journalistic they may or may not be. And you are entitled, I suppose, to disregard the role that police play and the judiciary plays and witnesses play. You're entitled to do all of those things. But I don't have that file with me, sir, and I have no further comment. Do you have another question?
I certainly do. Are you aware that in July of 2018, the mayor, Jim Kenney, issued an executive order regarding sex harassment and sex discrimination? He wanted the city to be free of those. And so he implemented a central tracking system of sexual harassment complaints. Are you aware of that, sir?
Sir, I don't know the details on that, and I'm not sure why you're asking it at this press conference.
Well,
I guess you could ask me about the price of lemons as well, if you'd like to do that. But
we're not going to get to lemons. But regarding Oren Gur, who is your policy advisor and director of research at your data lab, when there were complaints of sexual discrimination lodged against him, did you follow the mayor's policies?
that is what we call a lasagna of assumptions. I'm not sure it's true there were ever complaints about Dr. Oren Gur lodged in any such fashion. I'm not sure any of that is true.
Was anyone transferred?
Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you all.
Not used by professionals. We do have a professional here, and we're going to talk about devices that you do not need to buy.